To do the ARI technique of bookbinding, you need scissors, a large needle, a bull clip, 2 cardboard covers, and computer paper. The computer paper you can fold into 4 sections of 5 pages each. If you take A4 size paper and fold it in half to A5, you'll make an A5 size sketchbook, which is a very convenient size for our participants. You can start by threading the needle with waxed string. The waxed thread is best for bookbinding. At one end of the string, make 3 large knots, and this large knot will be at the bottom leftmost hole in your bookbinding cover. You don't need to make a knot at the top of the thread because it will make it harder for the needle and thread to pass through the pages when you're binding the book. The top of the thread can have about 6 inches of thread hanging freely. To secure the knot in the bottom left hole of the book, take your needle through the waxed string or through the knot that you've made and pass the needle and thread through so that you're making a knot and securing the string to itself. Pull tight so it's secure on the cover, and you're ready to apply your first signature. The signature are the folded pages of computer paper. You want to make sure it's lined up nicely with the cover so that all the pages in your book are nice, straight, and tidy. Take the bowl clip and clip it at the inside middle of the signature. When you're bookbinding, it's important to be able to look on the inside of the pages and on the outside where you're passing the needle and thread through. To start binding the pages to the cover of the book, you need to know where the holes are going to be to do so. So line up with the holes that are already made in the cover and poke some holes into the pages. This is going to be a guideline and make it easier for sending the needle and thread through when you get to each step. While the cover is still hanging loosely from the pages at this point, try to keep the cover and pages straight together. It's important to poke your hole closer to where the hole punch in the cover actually is, and this will help everything to come together more neatly. Now that the thread is secured to the cover and the holes have been punched in the pages as a guideline, we can start by passing the needle and thread through the first hole, the bottom left hole of the pages. From there you can already pass the needle through the second hole. With each stitch you make throughout this process, pull the string tightly. With the string coming out from the pages, bring the needle and thread through the second hole of the cover and send it directly back through the hole in the pages. Your string should be coming out through the inside of the book. Then go through the third hole. Make the same stitch by bringing the needle and thread around the cover, through the hole punched hole, and back directly through the pages. Sometimes the thread may be a little hard to manage, but encourage participants to be smooth and slow when pulling the thread through. Pull tightly on the thread to keep the stitches from being too loose, and move directly across the page to the fourth hole. Continue this stitch technique for the 4th, 5th, and 6th hole. Know that stitching towards the end of a row, the last stitch is usually different. Finish securing this signature to the cover by taking the needle and thread and going under the stitch of the 6th hole. This will secure the pages to the cover so that you can move on to adding the next signature section. The inside of your first signature should look like this, with stitches going all the way from the 1st hole to the 6th hole. Grab your next signature and put it in place. Keep this second signature steady with the bowl clip. Encourage participants to pin the arms of the bowl clip down so that they don't get in the way when you're bringing the needle and thread through. Do as you did before and create small holes with the needle that match with each hole of the cover. These holes serve as your guide and will make it easier when making each stitch. Start stitching the second signature in place by going through the top left hole of the pages. Feed the thread through the second hole. Remember to tightly pull each stitch through. With this signature, there's no need to secure it to the cover, so secure this signature to the previous signature by bringing the needle and thread under the stitch of the first signature and passing the needle back directly through the second hole. Continue in this way by bringing the needle through the 3rd hole, under the stitch of the previous signature, and back through the respective hole. Continue this technique until you get to the 6th hole. When you come to the 6th hole, bring the needle through the hole from the inside of the book to the outside of the book, passing the thread under the stitch of the first signature. This will finally secure the second signature to the first, which is also connected to the cover. For the sake of this video, we will advance to attaching these 2 signatures to the cover. What you would do is you would continue with your last 2 signatures in the way that we've shown with the first 2 signatures. To secure the stack of signatures to the final cover, bring the thread through one of the hole-punched holes and feed it directly through the hole of the previous signature, sending it through the pages In this final phase of stitching the cover to the previous signature, you will have 2 rows of threads. Continue to stitch the previous signature and the cover together by bringing the thread around and through the hole punched holes, feeding it directly back through that respective hole. Continue with this technique until you reach the top of the book. When you arrive at the last stitch of securing the cover to the previous signature, make the usual loop through the hole punched hole and feed the thread back through the hole of the pages. From the inside of the pages, you will make the knot that finally ends the bookbinding and keeps the book together. Use the thread of the preceding stitch to help you make that knot by going under the stitch, through the loop, and securing one knot. Do this twice to know that you've knotted the thread very securely. After you've made your knot, go ahead and clip your thread using the scissors, but be careful not to make the cut too close to the knot. Remove the bull clip and see what you've made. You can see that in this technique, which is a modification of Coptic or chain stitch bookbinding technique, the stitches come across all of the signatures, making one clean line. They connect from the front and the back cover and keep everything secure. Congrats on binding your own sketchbook!